Angelina Jolie wrote a piece in the Times' op-ed section today revealing that she underwent a preventive double mastectomy because she had a gene that gave her an 87% chance of contracting breast cancer. Back in 2007, the Times profiled a woman who made the same decision.
A little lumpy. That's going to go down, hopefully.
Deborah Lindner will join us in just a moment, but right now I'm joined by Amy Harmon, the reporter who wrote that Pulitzer Prize-winning 2007 piece on Previvors'. Amy, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Angelina Jolie's piece makes it sound not like an easy decision for a woman to make if she has these genes, but like a relatively straightforward one.
Right. Well, I thought Angelina's piece, which was great, sort of started with her having already made the decision and sort of took off from there about what the process is like. I thought it was really important and great that she wrote about it. But I was fascinated by the idea of, what leads up to that decision. The starting point for my story was really the availability of this genetic test for these two genes, BRCA1 and BRCA2. So the average chance of getting breast cancer for the average American woman is 12%. But if you're a carrier of one of these genes, your risk climbs, enormously to about
87%.
It can be 87%. It's between 60 and 90%. And so then the question is sort of what do you do with that knowledge? And you're really at that point, it kind of depends on where you are in your life. Deb, for example, was single. She was 33 years old when I was talking to her, and she hadn't had babies yet. Breastfeeding was really important to her mother, and her mother wasn't so sure Deb should get the surgery.
She was probably the most questioning, and are you really sure that you want to do that? And are you sure you want to do it now?
Is it not possible to prolong this a little longer, give herself a chance to find that special person, to be married, to have her family, to nurse her babies?
One thing obviously that's a big deal for many women is their identity is bound up in how they look and their shape, and she was concerned about would she be attractive. One of my favorite quotes from the story was a friend of hers who had implants for cosmetic reasons. It was just like get them off. You'll get new ones and they'll be awesome and cute and perky. And I think that actually helped her make the decision.
Well, speaking of Dr. Deborah Lindner, she joins us now via Skype. Dr. Lindner, in your case, what have been the ramifications of the surgery in your life?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I think that, as Amy said, this is such a personal decision, and there's so much that weighs into when to make this decision and why to make it. And I think for me, there was no looking back. This was absolutely the right decision for me, even though I was not married, even though I had not had babies yet. Now, when I look back at my decision, I realize that I don't ever have to look at my babies and worry that they won't have a mother because of breast cancer, because my risk is so much lower than anybody walking down the street right now because of having had the mastectomy. There are tricky things, though. This isn't all a bed of roses. I've had two babies since the article came out. Both of them were born preterm, and both of them I elected to buy donor breast milk from a milk bank in order to feed them until they got to their due date. Because early babies, unfortunately, have a much stronger benefit from breast milk, and they do better than when they're on formula. But I think that, it's important to realize that the mastectomy is not an easy thing to go through, and there are definitely ramifications. But for me, it was absolutely the right decision.
How old are you now?
I'll be 40 in December.
Because the other part of this gene, being a carrier for this gene, it raises your chance of ovarian cancer by 50%.
Which Angelina Jolie also talks about.
Right. She mentions that. So, and for the average woman, I think the chance it's low. It's like less than 10%, and for someone with this gene, it's 50%. So Deb had always said that you were planning to get your ovaries removed by the time you were 40, and I don't know if you're still planning that, but maybe.
Well, that's one of the things that my husband and I had to really talk about was how quickly did we want to have our babies so that I could have my ovaries removed and be safe from ovarian cancer. It's interesting, we talk so much about the breast cancer risk because it is a higher risk, but in reality, breast cancer is much more survivable than ovarian cancer. When someone is diagnosed with ovarian cancer, the risk of dying from their ovarian cancer is so much higher. And so for me, I plan to have my ovaries removed in December, right before I turn 40.